In any life, we have highs and lows, light and dark, wins and losses. What happens when we encounter that moment in time when what happens next could change everything? Join us as we step into another person's inspirational moment and see how we can connect their experience to ours. This is Greg Stevens, and you're listening to A Shot of Inspiration. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Stevens. Welcome to another episode of A Shot of Inspiration. Today, we have Nina Cooke with us, and Nina is someone I met several weeks ago, and she actually had me on her podcast, Wealthy Advisor Mindset. And what I love about Nina is she's a mindset coach, and she helps entrepreneurs, business leaders remove those hidden blocks, mental blocks that they have, and have unstoppable success. She deals with imposter syndrome that many people have. And she's also author of a book called Renegade Mindset for Unstoppable Success. Nina, thanks so much for being a guest on our show today.
It's such a pleasure to be here, Greg.
And of course, as you can hear her brogue, she is from England. And I love that. She's got a beautiful brogue. And so, Nina, walk us through how you got started to be a mindset coach and what you love most about what you do.
It happened quite by accident, not by design. To do the best things in life. I had a really nice business. My first online business was back in 2005. It was a personal shopping business. I did really well on this business because I didn't know what I didn't know. I was just putting myself into the place of saying yes to everything. And my business grew pretty quickly. I became a nationwide business quite quickly, became a six-figure business. Everything was going pretty well. But always at the back of my mind, I knew that I wasn't really putting myself out there in marketing as well as I could be marketing. I got all my leads through Google Ads because back in those days, it was really quite cheap. I had a really good business coach, and we got onto the first page of Google Ads, and I was the top company on there. So I was getting lots of inquiries coming through, but I wasn't visible. So it was a great way for me to get leads sitting behind my desk and being invisible. I didn't have my name on my website. I didn't have my photo on my website. I didn't do any social media because I was scared of being visible. And the reason I was scared of being visible is because of my childhood, because everything goes back to childhood. Our fears mostly are formed then. And the situation I had growing up was I had an older sister who is a narcissist. And I didn't know this till much, much later, because I remember reading a newspaper. They were saying, these are the tendencies of a narcissist. And I read it and thought, how do they know my sister? This is exactly her. And then the penny dropped. Of course she was that. But when you are the younger sister of a narcissist, they can destroy your confidence very easily. So I grew up thinking, okay, the way to stay safe, to stay out of her vision, is to be visible myself. But the problem is that when you create these childhood beliefs, they stay with you as you become an adult. 5-year-old scared Nina was making decisions as I was an adult businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and the decisions were not profitable or good decisions for me or productive in that situation. But I found this out much later. Anyway, I was managed to get some good personal shopping clients, and then I landed a nice corporate client, and it was one of the big accountancy firms, and I got the booking on the phone, so we still hadn't met. And I remember when we had this big event, corporate event, in their big, beautiful London offices, and I took along a team of 20 personal stylists, makeup artists, manicurists, and my team set up their stations, and we were all ready to go. And I thought, now I'm going to go and hobnob with the senior management and see if I can get another booking. So off I started walking towards these two powerfully dressed women in their lovely suits. And as I was walking towards them, the voice in my head said, don't go and talk to them because they'll realize you're not very good at what you do. And they'll see that you're not good enough and they'll wonder why they ever booked you. Sharp left turn, went and found a dimly lit office and sat there for the rest of the evening hiding.
That breaks my
When
heart. That breaks my heart.
There will be so many people who will resonate with this.
Yeah,
on some level. And
absolutely.
anyway, when I felt it was safe to come out at the end of the evening, I crept out of the office, got on the train home, and I remember just looking at my reflection in the window of the train and just thinking, you just done it again. You keep screwing up. You keep just blowing away opportunities. You've got to stop doing this. And you know, when you get that moment, you think something has to change and it's got to start right now. And there is no getting away from this commitment. I've made this commitment with my whole heart. And from that point, I started looking for ways of fixing myself because I genuinely thought that there was something missing inside of me that other people had. And I
Yeah.
had to find that missing piece and then I would be fine again. And anyway, I went down lots of rabbit holes. I did lots of training, lots and lots of seminars and certifications and all of that. The one thing I was looking for was a permanent way of changing myself. It couldn't be temporary, it had to be deep and profound and transformative. And eventually I found that way. I was working with a coach and he said, you just got a load of limiting beliefs that you believe are true about you. You just have to get rid of all of those. And I thought, okay, let's try this. And it worked for me. So I identified things like I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy, it's scary to put myself out there and all that stuff. And also money blocks, success blocks. And as I managed to remove all of these, then my profits started growing in my business because suddenly I was able to talk to big corporate clients, do presentations. I was booking clients like Goldman Sachs and Sky, putting my fees up, and my business just went into a completely different level. But by then, I'd lost interest in personal shopping because suddenly I thought, if my profits can grow this much when I change my mindset, then I can help other entrepreneurs. And my focus just became really passionate about that part of what I could do to help. And that's how I started working with entrepreneurs.
I love that. Can I ask who your coach was? Because you were talking about the coach challenged you on your limiting beliefs. But was it just the coach, or did you start looking into courses around that as well? Because they do have specific courses around that, or was that just working with your coach?
It was working with my coach, a guy called Morty Lefko, who sadly passed away a few years ago.
Awesome.
And he taught me that nothing is set in stone. I believed, although I didn't have the words for it, I believed I wasn't good enough. I thought if you cut me in half, you'd see those words written inside of me. It was just a part of who I was.
Wow.
But actually, it was just my perception. It was just a story I'd made up, and I felt had a lot of evidence to base that story up. But also, I could have chosen an alternative story and had the evidence for that, that I am good enough, and found all the evidence for that as well. So it's nothing on the outside. It's purely our perception and the meaning that we give things. And I know you've done Landmark. It's
Mhm.
very similar.
Yeah.
The two things are very similar because this stuff, it works.
Yeah.
It is about our, I keep saying the word story, but they are stories, they're works of fiction.
Yeah. I think we talked about I gave my story up when I was in the advanced course in Landmark, and they had an exercise to go through, and it had run my life to that moment for my entire life. And I could share it with you. It was interesting when I gave it up about 5 years later, someone asked me about the program I was asking them to go to. And later they came back, they go, what was your story? And I couldn't remember. And it was so amazing because I had truly given it up and I didn't remember it for a couple of years. I couldn't. I was like, all of a sudden one day I was like, oh, that was the story. And it had to do with my father. And but just like you, the story that held you back, which mine was the story that held me back as well. What I found is your true calling many times is within that story, but it's overcoming that. Even though you fell into the background because of your relationship with your sister. Later, when you had that insight, you have an insight now that most people don't. And you're a guide, is how I see it, of pulling people out of that. So, share a couple of stories of people, don't give their name, but a couple of stories of people you've helped guide out of that because of your experience and your ability to get past that.
Yeah. with clients, there have been so many clients who come with their own challenges, and the challenges could be around they're not marketing, they're not prospecting, they're not charging enough, and all of that stuff. But it all boils down to, I think, three main beliefs, which are I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy. Those tend to be the root cause of most of the way that we hold ourselves back in life. There's a feeling of inferiority, and we can't go for stuff because we just don't deserve to have this stuff, and other people do, but we just do not. So what we tend to do is that we'll root out the limiting beliefs and then we'll work on dissolving them, etc. So one guy that I worked with who was an estate planning attorney, he was very successful. He had clients who would stay with him forever, lots and lots of clients. And he became an advisor, a financial advisor, did all the qualifications, etc. But the belief that he had was that I'm an imposter pretending to be a financial advisor because my clients see me as an attorney. I can't persuade them to trust me with their money. But this was just all in his head because he'd done all the exams, he had some experience as an advisor. So what I had, my job was to help him to see that the value he has as an attorney was the value he could bring to his clients as an advisor. That's all we had to do, just for him to make that shift from I can help and bring value here, and I can help and bring value here. So finally, after shifting beliefs and changing his perspectives, etc., he was able then to ask his attorney clients if they would like to have a conversation about their finances. And it was the easiest marketing ever. He didn't have to spend a dime on going out and doing seminars because he had his financial clients sitting in his attorney client list. So all we had to do was start asking. And when he finally started asking and started having conversations, and they started saying, yes, can you please look after our money as well? Obviously, his financial advisory practice grew, but so did his law practice as well at the same time. So it was just going from I can't be trusted as an advisor, or people don't see me as an advisor, or I'm an imposter, to saying I can do a really great job with them. And it's
Right.
just making that shift in your head, because that shift then changes your decisions, it changes your actions, it changes your habits.
Yeah.
As you said, you forget what you were like before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a memory of what I was like growing up with my sister, but it doesn't feel like me anymore. There's like a distance between me and that person. I've got a real affinity for the underdog because I felt like an underdog
Yeah.
in my family. I had to protect myself, and I felt I was on my own, looking after myself, keeping myself safe for my family. And so I can sense out in situations who the underdog is, and I will instinctively speak up for them and look after them or look out for them and try and protect them in some way. If people are having a go, I have to instinctively help that person in that situation because I see myself how I was, and no one came to help me. I had to figure it out on my own. So I've got an affinity for that person.
I love that because you're giving it back. I went through it. I don't want you to suffer like I did, but it is a guide past it. I feel there is a process you have to go through. I would consider that's what you're doing. You're taking that person from that limiting belief that they are an imposter, walking them through to see what happened, that blind spot, showing them that it's not real, and then focusing that because it's real hard to ask if I feel like I'm an imposter.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
You'll make 100 excuses not to ask for the
absolutely.
for
Because
the
it does, because I've got to line up with the imposter because that's my reality. And when you shift that reality for people, I bet they just love working with you.
but it's liberating.
Yeah.
And I've still got limiting beliefs. I've got lots of limiting beliefs, but
Yeah.
my awareness is just off the scale. And if I'm doing something and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not acting according to my goals,
Yeah.
I know there's something going on. I will sit down with a piece of paper, I will figure out that belief, and I will dissolve it because I don't want it in my life. It just doesn't feel right
Yeah.
for me to be thinking like that anymore, and I'm going to change it. I know how to change it. And it's honestly, it's liberating. It just makes you feel braver, more courageous, more resilient, and stuff
Yeah.
happens. And I go down rabbit holes with it. But honestly, and as it's great to be able to deal with this stuff as it comes up.
Absolutely. And what I would say is you're a true practitioner. That's one of the things my friends tell me. There's people who coach things, but there are true practitioners. Practitioners begin to look at themselves first before they begin to teach. It's a constant thing that we have to do. For instance, recently I ran into the same thing, and I was aware of something that I had a belief that someone had done me wrong, and I held on to it. And I teach relationship and communication stuff, that type of work. But I always surround myself with really strong coaches. One of the people I talked to, we were just uncovering. I said, "Yeah, I know it's my stuff. I need to have a conversation." And he said something. He goes, "Do you need to have a conversation, or could you just forgive yourself?" And I went, and I chewed on it for a while. And I was like, yeah, why would I even put this in their space? Because this was about me. My limiting belief was, and I thought I need to have a conversation. There's some things I don't need to have a conversation about it because I had the conversation with myself. I could clean that up. So tell us some about maybe situations where you've done that for others or yourself. Maybe there's a situation where you saw it in yourself and you're like, that's what I'm going to do. Is there anything in particular you've done recently?
Yeah, something I've done recently is starting to try and listen to what's going on inside of me rather than just listening to the outside noise. There is so much noise out there. I had a conversation with a client today, and he said, "Oh, all this stuff's going on in my country and the economy and ugh." I said, if you listen to that stuff, it's going to control your thinking. You've got to switch it over and start spending more time within. So that sounds a bit woo woo, I know. So, more on a practical level, I've started meditating again. I've done it before and then I stopped doing it, and I've done it again because I need to find that quietness within me. And I know we all have this amazing, whatever you call it, source, energy, whatever you want to call it, God. It doesn't matter what the higher self, but we have this within us, I believe. That's my belief. And it's got everything, all the answers. I've got all the answers within me. So I've started listening to it more. And the other day, I distinctly heard myself or my inner voice say, stop complaining and start commanding. Okay, so I thought, stop complaining, start commanding. And I took that to mean, so I write my goal, I've written my goal down and I look at it every day. Start commanding this because this is what I do, it with some integrity and do it with some conviction. So I think that's why I heard the word command. So that's what I'm starting to do now, focusing, as I keep telling my clients, focus on what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want. And I think really try and shut out some of the outside noise. So I'm listening to the news less and I'm spending more time just, on myself. And it feels really nice, really much lighter. And I'm someone who's quite impatient and I want everything now. And I know I tend to sort of grip onto things. So I'm just trying to let go of that stuff and just trust
Yeah.
and relax with it.
Yeah.
But the key thing for me now is stop clenching, stop complaining, stop hustling, and just focus on what I want and just try and listen a bit more to within.
And I love that because to me, that's self mastery. It is because our tendency is to grab the latest and loudest, the things that are around us. Oh, this has happened in the economy. This has happened in politics. This is happening here. There's all this fear. And what I've seen for myself, I've had to stop watching any of the news. I have friends that actually, if there's anything big enough, my wife has to watch it for her job. They're to let me know anything that I can do something about. But here's what I found. There is so little that I can do anything about on that other massive scale. What's my job? My job is to help individuals in their lives, their relationships, let that span out. And I can't do it if I'm in a space of scarcity, of fear, of all of that. So my job is to actually help clear first myself out, like they talk about on an airplane, put your mask on first and then help the other. So that's the way I see it. I think you're probably the same way. It's as we look at these things, we're out to help people clear out that noise, become their best. Because if I've got that feeling of, some people call it vibration, energy, whatever, I'm not going to be at my best. My best ideas aren't going to come. They're there for me, like you were saying, from within, but I'm not listening to that. I'm listening to all that other noise out there.
We have to take great care of ourselves.
Yeah.
It is the number one thing, and it is a thing that most people don't do because they think I need to do my job, I need to get the food on the table, I need to do this, that, and the other. Take great care of yourself. It is the most important thing, and it will benefit everyone around you.
Yeah.
They will all get more out of you if you take care of yourself. And there's no one way to take care of yourself. It could be meditating, it could be exercising more, it could be eating better, it could be going for walks, spending time on a hobby where you just get your thinking just shuts off because you're enjoying what you do so much. Whatever it is, just spend just some time every single day, make it the priority of your day to take care of yourself. And I read, and the penny hasn't fully dropped there. And this sounds crass, I know. You've got to love yourself, or at least like yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's really important. Listen to the conversation you have with yourself. You're all about communication. The conversation we have with ourselves is usually disgusting, is brutal to ourselves. So please just dial into that conversation and improve it.
Yeah.
You cannot talk to yourself as you do. You would never talk to anyone else in that way.
Exactly. There's a great book I found I've started directing some of my clients to because I needed it so much. It was The Missing Commandment, Love Thyself. And it really talks about you can't give out what you don't have. So how can I give anyone else love if I can't love the thing that I know the most? And that's part of it. As we're talking about this, what is the thing you love the most about what you do?
Is seeing people change their minds and then take an action that they were scared of taking before, which could be around, for financial advisors, charging fees, or approaching higher level clients, or starting to do outreach, starting to follow up, asking for referrals. Just when they start doing it easily and they can't remember how hard it was because their belief system has shifted completely, and just seeing them transform in that way where they just feel lighter, happier, more fulfilled, and then they feel surprised because the money starts pouring in, and because we sort, and it is about vibration. I know, again, this is something that's talked about a lot. Everything is energy. We know that everything is energy and everything vibrates. And when you're vibrating at a low level, you're going to bring in low level stuff into your life. So this goes back to taking care of yourself and liking yourself. And the funny thing is, you may not like the conversation you have in your head. You may think there's something wrong with me, or I can't fit in, or I feel inferior to everyone. Everyone's better than me. We have this conversation. That's not a nice conversation. But again, if you can get below that conversation to your voice of wisdom, how can you not like that? That's the bit of yourself you will really, but to get in touch with that, you have to get past all the noise in your head.
Yeah. I'd say that's your true self. The other is the program self.
It's the ego self, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's the ego
exactly.
self that's demanding attention, throwing tantrums everywhere. demanding to be
I
fed.
didn't get this. I want it now.
Yeah, why do they get it? It's not fair. Life's not fair.
And I went through a little of that this morning. I have to be honest. It's a constant to grow. It's a constant effort, but it's something I love doing. Do you ever get tired of it or do you enjoy it?
Oh my goodness me. I get tired of it. And sometimes I think, oh, I'm feeling down, so therefore it's not working. And then I know now that those are the moments when I just sit quietly for 5 minutes and do whatever it takes that 5 minutes to get myself back
Yeah.
into a better vibe,
Yeah.
because I know it's down to me.
Right.
No one is going to come and pick me up. I have to do it myself. I have to pay attention to my moods and states. We just go in and out of different states, different
Yeah.
day, different moods all day long. We can be up, then we'd be down, and all the rest of it. And it's making peace with that and saying, I'm not doing anything wrong. This is just how it is, but I can do what I can do about it and do the best I can. And I think as you carry on doing it, it does start shifting upwards. And then when I go down, I don't go down like I used to go down. It's shifting upwards. But then I have to remind myself it's not the end result. That's the exciting bit. It is this journey that is the growth part of it all.
Right.
And it's not a linear line. You just go up and up. It's like being in business. It's a roller coaster. You go up and down, but that's okay. And it becomes easier as you unclench from wanting everything and wanting it now. Your Deepak Chopra, the great meditator, he says he's now an observer of his thinking. And because as an observer of his thinking, he's detached from it. And so it doesn't bother him in that way that he used to do. So for me, that's what I'm aiming for, to just become more detached and become more the observer. So I'm not bothered so much about the stuff which on my deathbed, I'm never going to think about. It's really not going to be important in the least.
Right.
Really. And so it's all focused on the bigger things, family and friends and my clients and the stuff that's really important to me.
Yeah.
But again, it's not sweating the small stuff, but easier said than done.
It is. And that's why I believe you don't get to have a breakthrough until there's conflict. And usually what I teach is you have a conflict with someone, you're about to have a breakthrough in that relationship if you effectively do it. I think the same thing happens within. We have the internal conflict, but one of the things I found is the breakthrough is about to happen. What I would say is many times we need a guide, a help, a coach. And like Nina, I want you to think about, is Nina someone that could help you have a breakthrough around that? She's been through maybe imposter syndrome and you need a guide like that. So Nina, how could people find you to actually work with you? I know we're going to put some stuff on our social media, but just verbalize how people can get a hold of you to work with you and what's the best way to do that?
There's a couple of ways. You can take my Millionaire Mindset Mastery Scorecard, which will tell you exactly which limiting beliefs you have, stopping you from having more money and more success. So I've put down the main limiting beliefs that my clients have. So you can find out, okay, this is keeping me stuck. This is keeping me stuck. So it just gives you a really clear picture of what's going on in your subconscious mind that's stopping you from moving forward. Or the other way is the easiest way, and I love talking to people, so you can just email me at nina@ninacooke.co.uk. If we feel it's the right thing, we'll get on a quick call and see whether I can help you or not.
Thank you so much. So it's NINA at Nina Cooke, COO, Nina Cooke, COOKE at co.uk. Is that correct?
It's NINA at Nina, NINACOOKE.co.uk.
Okay, great. .co.uk. Great. Thank you so much, Nina. And everyone, thank you for watching another episode of A Shot of Inspiration. I'm Greg Stevens, your host. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of A Shot of Inspiration. If you like this or any of our other episodes, make sure you rate it and share it with a friend. This is Greg Stevens, and we look forward to being with you next time. Until then, be bold, be courageous, and respectfully speak your truth.